Sometimes the person labeled as lazy is actually the most creative one. They have just not yet found the right reason to awaken. There are people who do not like to move around, who rarely take initiative. Others look at them and easily judge them as lazy. But if you observe more carefully, you might realize they are not lacking ability. They just lack a big enough motivation to turn themselves into their best version. And today's story is a clear illustration of that. Once upon a time, in a small village on the outskirts of a town, there lived a boy named Ryan with his parents in a simple house. Ryan was very lazy. He did not like to do much, and every day his only task was helping his father in the fields by scaring away the birds that came to eat the rice. But instead of getting up to carry a stick or a slingshot like others, Ryan thought of a less tiring way. He erected wooden posts around the field and connected them with ropes. That way, by pulling a rope while lying where he was, he could frighten the birds into flying away, without ever leaving his resting place. Ryan's father found it both amusing and worrying. He thought, if one day I fall ill, will the boy have enough strength to carry everything alone? Though anxious inside because Ryan always completed the tasks assigned in his own way, he did not scold him. That was until the thing he feared actually happened. That summer, the sun scorched like fire. When the dry season came, the fields cracked from lack of water, and at exactly that time, Ryan's father fell seriously ill. He could not go to the field as usual anymore. Everything fell onto the shoulders of the boy who was used to lying in one place, pulling ropes to scare birds. For the first time in his life, Ryan had to face reality. No one could do the work in his place. He tried to go to the field, learning to water the rice, pull weeds, fertilize, but nothing went well. The fierce sun made him dizzy. His skinny hands blistered from digging soil. And worst of all, he did not have the strength to carry water from the village well. After just a few weeks, the rice paddies began to wither. The rice turned a dry yellow and lay flat on the ground as if surrendering to fate. Ryan sat and watched the field, sweat soaking his shirt, heart aching at a feeling he knew for the first time: helplessness. That night, when the whole village lay deep in darkness, Ryan quietly went out to the backyard. He sat on his familiar stone slab, looked up at the star-filled sky. The night breeze blew through his tangled hair, and in that silence he whispered to himself, "I have lived too carelessly. Why did I not try a little harder before? If my parents need me now and I am powerless, then what am I?" The next morning, Ryan woke earlier than usual. The village buzzed with excitement. People gathered around the small square. A soldier on horseback stood on a raised platform, holding a scroll of silk. His voice rang out, "By order of the king, in 3 days there will be a grand contest at the palace. The winner will be awarded a chest of gold. All citizens are welcome to participate." The whole village buzzed talkatively. Everyone dreamed of that gold, but each understood they were not strong enough to compete with powerful people from far and wide. Ryan alone lit up with excitement. An idea flashed into his mind. If I win, I can save the field, cure my father, and change everything. He stepped into the center of the crowd and lifted his head to say, "I will take part." People around fell silent for a second, then burst into laughter. "Ryan is going to compete?" Someone laughed harshly. "He's probably thinking he can just lie down in the palace and pull ropes to scare birds," an old woman mocked. But Ryan did not respond. He returned home and prepared for the journey. His parents looked at their son in surprise. They did not hope for much, only wished that this trip would change him. 3 days later, Ryan, along with hundreds of other contestants, arrived at the palace. The contest began by a large pond. The announcer shouted, "First round rule, cross this pond. The first 3 to finish will move on." The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, begin! Everyone jumped into the water and started swimming vigorously. The strong men strode powerfully while Ryan stayed on the bank. He looked at the pond, then turned away. The spectators began muttering, "He's given up already. I told you, that lazy one never dares to do anything." But Ryan did not give up. He ran into the nearby forest, found dry branches and discarded planks. He tied them into a small raft, then used a long stick as a paddle. He mumbled, "The rule is to cross the pond. It never said you have to swim. I am not strong, but I can think differently. The raft slowly slid into the water. While the swimmers grew exhausted, Ryan leisurely paddled, water lapping gently at the sides. Despite starting last, he gradually passed person after person, and then he landed on the shore in third place. The drum sounded, the crowd applauded, not because of strength, but because of cleverness. The boy once mocked. Now he had surpassed the strongest simply with one thing: knowing how to think differently. The next morning, when the first sunlight shone down on the palace square, the final three contestants were summoned. Ryan stood beside two muscular men, those who had finished first in the previous round. Everyone thought this final test would eliminate the scrawny boy. A high official loudly announced, "This is the final round. Each person will be given a large block of wood. The task is to push that block over a distance of 1 mile to the finish line. Along the path are some helper tools, but each person may choose only one." As soon as the signal sounded, Ryan's two rivals immediately dashed to the tool pile. The first chose a strong rope and began pulling the block. The second grabbed a large wooden beam, using it as a lever to move little by little. Ryan remained still. He did not rush. He walked slowly around the tools, thinking deeply. He knew he could not win by strength, but he could win by intellect. Finally, Ryan chose a small knife. Whispers broke out in the crowd. "He has gone mad. What can a small knife do?" But Ryan remained unfazed. He knelt beside the block of wood and began carving. Shavings flew and round shapes gradually formed. After more than an hour of perseverance, the heavy square block had transformed into a large wooden sphere. No pulling, no lever. Ryan began to roll the ball gently along the dirt road. He walked steady steps, maintaining a stable rolling rhythm. While the other two contestants struggled with wood and sweat, Ryan headed straight for the finish line and was the first to complete the challenge. The entire square erupted. The crowd cheered thunderously. They could not believe it. The boy once mocked as the lazy one had become the ultimate winner. The king emerged, presented the prize, and asked, "Why did you choose the knife?" Ryan lifted his head and smiled. "Because I am not stronger than others, so I had to think differently. Lazy is acceptable, but if one thinks ahead and acts rightly, even so, the results can surpass expectations." Ryan's story teaches us that sometimes what you lack is not strength, but a reason big enough to break through. When you act for love, for family, for the desire to rise above yourself, you will discover abilities you never imagined. So if today you feel you lack motivation, ask your heart, what am I living for? Because the answer to that will determine how far you can go.